in those moments, it was very interesting because before before the assault, I knew I was spiritual, but I didn't know I was spiritual. I had crystals and things around me, and I was curious about it. I believed in signs and numerology, but in that pain, I felt the universe with me.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Journey Journals. My name is Gaia, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Kelsey Grace Hall. She is an intuitive healer, a spiritual light coach, and the author of the upcoming book, Awaken Grace. Now, this channel, for those of you who have been following, is essentially a channel about people who have had the courage to walk into their own cave or their own darkness of sorts and come out with jewels. And I feel like Kelsey's journey absolutely fits this bill. And her journey is one of not only profound pain and profound healing, also including having to overcome sexual assault, but she's managed to create a life of her dreams. So a very warm welcome to you, Kelsey.
Thank you so much, Gaia. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, likewise. So, Kelsey, I'd love it if we could start off by you just taking a moment to explain a little bit about your background and introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Well, like you said, I'm a healer, spiritual light coach. I changed it up to light coach because I ignite the light in as many people as I possibly can. And that comes with going into the dark caves of our beingness and illuminating it from the inside out. And so, through my own journey I'll get more into that later, you'll be able to understand what has really ignited that inside of me, but I am deeply passionate about healing. You talk to me and I just squeeze and ooze out spiritual growth, things about enlightenment, consciousness, ways that we can better ourselves, health, mindset, all of those things. I've been heavily in this world since 2018. I did Tony Robbins for ever since 2018. That's what got me into personal development. Started healing in 2020, and now I've been, because of healing and all of this development, and it has completely, I just couldn't even imagine how life could be so great. And it just is like, everybody needs to know this. It's like everybody needs to understand, like when we have these breakthroughs, it just is absolutely extraordinary. And so I live in California right now. I know I've lived in Florida. I'm from California. I'm about to travel to live abroad for a couple of months around the world. So I'm kind of all over the place, a little bit of a digital nomad at the moment, embracing the freedom. Freedom is a major value for me, and it makes sense because I'm here to also help other people have that freedom too. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And now, speaking of life, I know that you have a mantra that you follow or that you use, and it is life is happening for me, not to me. I would love to hear a little bit about that and how it sort of guided your healing journey.
Yes. So for all those Tony Robbins fans out there, that is his famous line. And I went to my first Tony Robbins UPW event in March of 2018. I actually bought tickets for my mom, thinking that it was going to change her life because she was going downhill. Then I went and I was like, okay, I know nothing about myself. I need this more than anything. And that was when I had one of my first big spiritual awakening experiences. And it changed me forever. When I started to learn that life was happening for me, not to me, it brought up everything for me. It made me realize how powerful I am, and that I really am not the victim of life. And that if life truly is happening for me, then there's a gift in every experience. And that became my mantra for life when I started Tony Robbins and started my personal development. It took me years to rewire my system. I mean, we're still doing it. I'm still doing it after all this time. But initially, I was like, oh my gosh, my thoughts create my reality. This is terrifying. And so I had to really work work through that, but that mantra became my foundation. So I trained my mind to see life happening for me, not to me. And that foundation alone allowed me to embrace the deepest pains I've ever been through in my life.
That's very powerful, Kelsey. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of pain, I know you've had to overcome some significant obstacles. Would you be okay with sharing with us what happened or took place in 2020?
Absolutely. Yeah. In 2020, I was actually sexually assaulted, and it was quite a profound experience. Obviously, amongst the pain that came along with it, it was the most excruciating pain that I have ever been through. And in those moments, it was very interesting because before the assault, I knew I was spiritual, but I didn't know I was spiritual. I had crystals and things around me, and I was curious about it. I believed in signs and numerology, but in that pain, I felt the universe with me. I said universe back then. I didn't really like the word God yet. I was still working with healing that, and I just felt the pull to continue to do certain things, like go to the doctor. I was bleeding and I couldn't pee. Like, I was physically in excruciating pain. I had bruises all over my body. And something told me, like, this, I should go to the hospital. And I did. And I didn't realize that I've had experiences in the past that I used to blame myself for. And so I never followed up, but something in my gut, in my being. And I was also working with a love coach at the time. And I messaged her. I was like, I would really love to work through some shame that I'm going through right now. And I told her the experience, and she said, that is a sexual assault. And when she said that, I don't know if I would have, I don't even know if I would have continued to take the path that I did. But thank goodness for her, she helped me to unravel some of the shame. And it actually unlocked childhood trauma that I had been repressing for my entire life. So, on top of my own trauma that I had just experienced, it brought up childhood trauma that I had repressed. And so I went to the doctors and had to go through this whole experience. And I remember getting in line and I was shaking, and I was like, do I really need to do this? Is this really happening right now? I'm a sexual assault victim. I've been sexually assaulted. Like, the thoughts in my mind were racing, and my emotions, I felt like I had been stabbed in the heart, in the stomach, everywhere. And as I'm racing in my mind, when I'm about to get pulled up to speak to one of the front desks, they pull up a chair, and on that chair has the number 11 on it. Now, 11 is my number. My birthday is 11/11. I see 11/11 every day in so many different moments. And I knew the angels were speaking to me. And then a sense of relief came over me as I was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I could feel God, source, universe with me, guiding me. And I just followed this path to get taken care of, to get the rape exam. And honestly, it became this extraordinary, heart cracking, wide opening experience. And I can go deeper into that experience, but it definitely was one of the most painful things that I've been through. Yet there's so much more that has come from it, which, I'll explain a little bit later too. But yeah, that was the experience that I went through in 2020.
Thank you for sharing that so candidly with us, and I'm really, really sorry that you had to go through that. Kelsey, there was a moment where you started feeling called to help others from the trauma, right? Could you describe that moment when you felt the call and how it influenced your career path?
Absolutely. When I was in the rape room, I got about to get the rape exam, I remember sitting in the room. I was by myself, and I was looking around the room, and there were drawings of trees and butterflies, and butterflies to me is another symbol of transformation. Every radical transformation that I had in my life, there was always butterflies present, whether it was physically or through art or just like I was like, okay, so this is I already knew in my mind that this was a transformational moment. Again, the universe confirming that the universe was with me. And in that moment, as I was sitting in the chair, I just kept saying, life is happening for me, not to me. Life is happening for me, not to me. God, universe, I don't know how or why. Life is happening for me, not to me. This pain has to be greater than what I'm going through. And as I was repeating that mantra in the pain, about to get a rape exam, I received this calling. Like my heart just ripped open. And I realized that the pain that I was going through was going to be other people's liberation. And I was going to help other people heal. Because I realized by me going to the hospital, all of the nurses kept saying to me how brave I was for showing up, and that most people don't show up. Most people don't report it. Most people don't go to the hospital to get checked out. And that made me realize that so many people suffer in silence. And I just felt as if the meaning to my pain was to help people not suffer through silence anymore. So that's when I took the call, and I didn't even know healers existed, but I knew that I was going to help people heal, and magic happened after that.
That's amazing. What a profound experience and transformation. It's incredible. Now, I know that you had another similar experience around that involved some kind of pink healing light. I would love it if you could share that with us.
Yes. Oh, that gives me chills when I think about this experience, because it wasn't shortly. I mean, obviously, like I woke up to my healing, my purpose within days of the assault. So I didn't stay too long into the victim energy. But of course, as we go through the healing, there's going to be moments where I go into the victim energy. Now, with that aside, I had just finished an interview with one of my friends. We went live on Instagram, and we were just on the phone with each other afterwards. And I was on my computer and noticed that the perpetrator had found me on Facebook in that moment and sent me a message while I'm on the phone with her. And all of a sudden, my body started to go into this contraction. And I started to feel kind of sick, and just felt my heart started racing. And so something just obviously that brought up a lot of energy for me, that brought up a lot of emotion. And I just sat with what was coming up for me. And I felt as if God asked me to send the perpetrator pink healing light. And at first, there was a little bit of resistance. At first, there was a little bit of like, do I really want to do that? But I knew deep down that the only way for me to really heal is to also forgive, right? If I really want to help other people, I have to learn how to forgive myself. And am I willing to stay in the suffering of my pain, or am I willing to forgive so that I can be free and help other people become free? So in that moment, I just felt as if this pink healing light started to come down. This pink healing light came down, and I just imagined as if I was sending the perpetrator pink healing light, and it just was flowing through me into him. And I could just feel this energy flowing through me. And after about 5 minutes, my body shifted, the nausea went away. I didn't feel that tension in my body anymore. I just felt kind of at peace, and felt such a it was quite profound. It was very interesting. My mind was having a hard time wrapping my head around it, and it was extraordinary. It was so beautiful. Now, I have another experience. I'm sure this actually might have been the first experience, but they're both coming through right now. So I'll share this other one because it is really profound. So a week after the assault, my triggers were very intense, and my emotion, like by 10 a.m., my triggers, my PTSD triggered on, and I was just a roller coaster of emotions. And I moved back home with my parents. And at the time, you can imagine what parents are going through when they find out that their little girl was sexually assaulted, their own wounds that would come up. So it was just wounds after wounds after wounds. And I remember one day my mom and I got in a fight, and I realized in that moment that I was going to have to heal by myself, that this was going to be an inner game. Like, as much as I wanted people outside of me to love me, they just didn't have the capacity to give me the love that I needed, because I was hurting, right? And as much, like, my parents gave me as much as they possibly could. So I'm definitely not saying that they couldn't, give me love. They gave me love as best as they could. And I'm actually beyond grateful for how they loved me through that process, because it made me go inward. So that day, I remember sitting on the floor after a heated, angry moment with my mom. I sit down, it's raining outside. I'm looking outside this window, and I just close my eyes and I say, universe, I really need your help. I don't know how to heal this. I really don't know how to heal this. I need your help. And I'm crying and I feel the pain. And I know the only way through it is to feel it. And so I just sat there, and all of a sudden, this beautiful pink light, and I've never had an experience like this prior to this experience. This beautiful pink light came down from the heavens, and it started to bless my body, and my eyes are closed. And I remember being really skeptical about this energy. And I just felt as if it was blessing me and loving me. And I asked it, I was like, do I really deserve this? Do I, do I have to earn this? It, it was such a mind trip. And all of a sudden the energy just confirmed, no, this is pure unconditional love. And in the rawest feeling and energy of unconditional love, I've never felt true unconditional love, because when you think about the layers of love through our family and friends, there's layers in between what true pure love is. And the universe blessed me, and I call that a moment of grace. Like, that's when grace came into my life and blessed my body, blessed my spirit. And that was the day I became awakened with grace. That was the moment I actually started to embrace my name, Grace, which I never embraced before because I didn't think that I deserved it. Then that day, that moment changed my life forever. And Grace has become my guiding force ever since.
You are one incredibly brave human being and lady. I have to tell you, I mean, I cannot even begin to imagine what it must be like to be contacted by your perpetrator, and how terrifying that must be. And, how you then not only sort of sent him, I guess, I don't know what you're going to call that light, even if it's a type of forgiveness. But then even taking on your own healing and taking responsibility for your own healing, I think that's incredible. And really, I think you deserve nothing short of unconditional love always. Amazing.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
of course. Kelsey, you, on a more practical level, you started off this whole journey actually in the corporate world, right? That's your background. And then through these series of experiences, you've slowly but surely, not even that slowly, moved into alternative healing modalities, and you've preferred them over traditional healing therapies. I wanted to understand how this all impacted your journey, and what played roles in it.
Great question. After the assault, I didn't feel aligned to the typical therapeutic path. Something called me for something spiritual, and I wasn't even sure what that meant, but I knew that therapy, in the ways that And there's nothing wrong with therapy, might I say that ahead of time. It has its own value and its own ways of working. But for me personally, it didn't align. So I decided to work with shamans and healers and hypnotherapists. And I found that my first retreat in Sedona, where I did a 5-day intensive with 3 to 4 2-hour sessions a day. Because I woke up to my mission. I wanted to help people immediately. So like I had this fire inside of me, yet I still had so much pain and trauma that I needed to work through. So I was like, okay, let's get this ball rolling. And so I went into this experience learning with the shamans, and that in itself also cracked my heart and soul wide open, because it was a completely different experience. That, therapy is much so, not all of it, but some therapy is more on like the mental level. And what I wanted was, I wanted to go deep, and I didn't want to just talk about it. I wanted to go into the emotions of it. I wanted to go into my body of it. I felt in my being that this was something more than I could even understand. And there was also a few other experiences, I'm not going to share them here, that happened were in my mind. I'm like, there's no coincidences in this. I have to understand this a little bit deeper. And when I did that, I realized how trauma was passed down through the lineage, and doing lineage work, energy work, that sparked my interest and really fueled and lit me up. So I knew this was going to be the path that I wanted to go down. And then after the retreat, I was like this shining ball of light, and my PTSD went away. And then the day I was supposed to go back to work, they laid me off. And I said, that's my sign to go all in on my business. And I've never gone back. I've gone all into my business since. And I think, like, one thing I believe is that we have a soul calling. I believe each of us has a unique soul mission. And I was blessed to be able to find mine very quickly and turn my pain into my purpose. Typically, sometimes that's how it works, but it doesn't have to, right? And yet the journey that I went down was so out of the ordinary. I got a lot of backlash, and I got a lot of resistance from everybody, and a lot of doubts, a lot of no's, a lot of hate. And I just said, no, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. And I don't have any other boats. I burned them. So either you're going with me or you're not. And if you're not, that's cool. I love you. Bye. So this path really served me well. Yeah.
Amazing. And that's incredible. Congratulations. And I know that you also let go of another really, another aspect of your life in 2022, and that was that you became a non-drinker, right? And I wanted you to speak into that, and how that impacted your healing journey, and any advice that you might have for others who are experiencing the same, or maybe trying to overcome some kind of addiction.
Yes, absolutely. That was in 2020. That was after the assault. So I was drinking when I was assaulted, and then every time that I drank after that, my PTSD the next day, I'd wake up with the same shame and the same stomach wrenching feelings after I would drink. And I was already a very heavy drinker. I thought I would drink forever, and I was gonna drink for the rest of my life. It was a part of my identity. However, when I went to that retreat, I had learned that alcohol was passed down through my lineage, and in the energy of alcohol was also trauma. When I saw that and understood that alcohol was a dark energy and what it does energetically to your body, and needless to say, like, I know I'm not the only one in my family that has dealt with sexual trauma. To me, it felt like it was my responsibility to be the one to end this abuse in my family. That's one aspect. And so I found the leverage where, after the retreat, I wanted to make a decision, either to let this substance continue to ruin my life, because there's many more instances other than the assault that happened prior because of alcohol, or I tell myself, I give myself 3 months to not drink. Now, I had many people telling me I should quit drinking altogether, and I can tell you it was like dying. It felt like dying. It did feel like dying because I started drinking when I was 15. So I had a massive identity attachment to alcohol and identifying myself as a drinker. And after the retreat, I decided that I was going to stop drinking for 3 months. My mind couldn't comprehend forever, even though deep down I felt like I knew it was most likely going to be forever. And so I just went for 3 months, and I had to go through these deaths of attachment because my identity was I'm a drinker. And I felt as if I was going to lose people. And there's like this whole thing because it's such a huge construct. But the most profound thing is, and this is what I think will be really transformational for people, is that I made a full on body decision to not drink. And the beautiful part was, if you were to tell me, or if I was going to say to do that before the retreat, I don't think that would have happened. Because what I understood and what I learned and what I did is that I healed the void that led me to go drink. So when I stopped drinking, it was actually effortless. I didn't have cravings. I didn't have urges. And this is coming from someone that drank almost every day, a lot. A lot. I was a good party girl. I partied, I drank. Like, I never in my life did I think that I would do that. But because I healed the void that led me to drink, because I had tremendous amount of self-hatred towards myself, which is why I mirrored a sexual assault into my life, because I was at the vibration of hate. And when you law of attraction, you will attract things into your field that are vibrating at the same frequency as you. And so I was vibrating hate. So I attracted hateful experiences into my life, not to hurt me, but to heal me. But once I went into the hate and I healed my self-hatred and actually loved myself, I didn't have the urge to numb myself because I wasn't running away from the hate anymore. This was life-changing. Life-changing. And then when I did that, my life blossomed in the most glorious ways. Abundance started to really come in. I got to heal even faster because when you drink, you actually disconnect yourself from spirit, from your soul. And so it took me time to really develop again, because I stopped growing at 15, because that was when I started drinking. So I was like a 15-year-old in a 27-year-old body, navigating life all over again, bringing all the pieces back together, loving myself again. And to this day, I have not had a drink. It's been over 3 years, and I don't plan on going back. It's one of the most proudest things that I've ever done for myself. And if I can do it, anybody can.
Congratulations. You are truly an inspiration. And, I've noticed through our discussion that you have this really interesting and really quite unique way of shifting the perspective on, situations that one can see as very negative, and you seem to have found the positive in them, or at least reframe them to work to your advantage. And I would love to know from you, what can you say about self-love in general, finding self-love, and a word to those who are sort of struggling to see positive outcomes out of negative experiences?
No feeling is final. No season is final. And every low we experience is only trying to bring us to that next height. And enlightenment is one hand in hell and one hand in heaven. And if we can merge both, that's what creates oneness. And love, when we say self-love, that's what we are. We are love. We came from love. We were created out of love. And this journey, we develop, these parts of ourselves that get fragmented because we are looking for love, because everything is a call for love, or it is love. So you can look at the most horrendous experiences in life, and at the very root of all of it is a cry for love. And I think so many people may not understand what love is, because they think it's liking, because love is not like is an opinion, and love is acceptance of everything as is. So the more that we heal, we're loving ourselves, we're loving the little child back home with us that we have rejected because we thought, or maybe our parents didn't know any better. They said something, did something, or there was a trauma. And then part of us splintered off because we thought we would get love in a different way. So we rejected ourselves. So the way that we love ourselves is bringing those parts that we rejected and shamed back home. That's why I believe that healing is the foundation of everything in this freaking existence, because it impacts your relationships, your finances, your business, your health, every area of your life. If you don't take care of these parts, then life will continue to support you in bringing those parts back home. So regardless, everything is always working out. That's why life is always happening for you, not to you, because God loves you, source loves you. Like everything is trying to get us back to love, to remember the love that we are. So even when we're in those deep moments of pain or sorrow or despair, which I've been in all of them, they're just catalysts into our expansion. And I'll say one more thing on that. I like to say this statement: when you're in the contraction is when you're pregnant with spirit. Now, I say pregnant with spirit, like you're pregnant with spirit because you're pregnant with a new version of you that's about to be reborn. So when you're in this contraction, you're kind of in the womb of pain and suffering, but there's like all of these unravelings that are happening. You just have to be able to shift your perspective to see the beauty in the pain and not judge the pain, because the pain is only painful because we're judging it. That then helps us see the beauty in the rebirth, and then we spread our wings and we emanate the love that we truly are, that's trying to be expressed through us. So
those are some very profound insights. Thank you so much for sharing them. I love the one, no feeling is final. That definitely resonated, and I'm going to hold on to that one. And I love what you said about the contraction phase, because, a lot of people see it as a breakdown, or, can't handle the discomfort of it. But I believe the same, that there's a gift even in breakdown. So you've shared a lot of incredible insights with us, and I know your upcoming book, Awaken Grace, promises to share your whole journey in detail, and is also packed with spiritual insights and lessons. Can you give us a little example of what a reader might expect from it?
Oh yes, it's quite an experience. I start deeply in the sexual assault, so I go heavily into that. I share my experiences at the retreat. I have also included meditations that the reader can also do for themselves, because I don't only want this to be about my journey. I want this to be a healing experience for other people. So there's also meditations, healing meditations included throughout the chapters that the reader can participate in. And I mean, it really is my journey back home to love, right? Really loving the self-hatred. I talk about healing through sexuality. There was a moment where I had all this sexual energy come up, and I released my energy, had an orgasm, and then I stayed connected to it. And all of a sudden I saw this black monster, and I at first was a little terrified that this came up, and yet I just said, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I just kept saying I love you, and all of a sudden the monster transformed into my inner child, to a little girl. So I share things like that are very intimate, very personal, and our ability to be able to understand how this whole existence really is supporting our journey, and the lessons that I've been able to attain on how to see through our pains and transform our traumas, so that we're not living a life of suffering, but we're living a life thriving and creating and giving and contributing, and not just getting by in life. I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to thrive. And that's what I want for other people, is to thrive even when we've had excruciating pain, because those, I believe, that have excruciating pain hold even bigger gifts to give to the world. And I hope that through my book, that's what helps people really unlock their hearts and unlock their beings to be able to do just that for themselves.
Agreed. And I'm very, very much looking forward to reading it as soon as it comes out. Kelsey, aside from your own book, do you have any other reading or book recommendations for people starting their healing journey or looking deeper into healing?
Yes, my number one is Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tippings. I have it somewhere around here. Colin Tippings, this is my foundation. I recommend it to everyone. I give it to every one of my clients. It's the number one book I recommend for everybody. It goes through this process of being able to see how life really is happening for you. And it also has worksheets that you can go through. There's a lot of resources. That is definitely one book. Another book is Seat of the Soul. That's another good one. Let's see, I got a few. Those are the two top ones that I read. And then if you're looking for like energy work, Master Co has one that is called Your Hands Can Heal. And that's doing energy work and playing with colors. I've done that, and I do a lot of that with my clients too.
Thank you. Both great recommendations. Kelsey, what is your message to the world around healing?
When you heal the world. And not that it's our responsibility to heal the world, but it is our responsibility, I believe, to heal ourselves, because the things in our life we may not have agreed in those moments for it, but our healing is our responsibility. And I guarantee you that when you step into healing yourself, it is one of the most exhilarating and liberating experiences one could do for themselves. It's honestly one of the most fulfilling in terms of spiritual development, because you're coming back home to you. You're coming back home to your soul. And honestly, it's priceless when you experience that true freedom within. And you deserve to be free. You deserve to live a life that is of joy, of pleasure, of abundance. Everybody deserves that. And I think we've been so heavily conditioned at times to not think we do, but you do. And I hope that you hear this loud and clear for whoever's listening, that freedom, like pain, is at the cost of freedom. And when we can go into our pain and shine the light, imagine that it's like the butterfly being transformed in the chrysalis. You go into the darkness, but on the outside, you transform, you spread your wings. That's exactly what soul freedom feels like. So I say go for it. Jump in with open arms. I'm available, but there's also so many other people available too.
That's a beautiful and very powerful message. Thank you so much. And I feel if there's anyone who actually embodies that, it has to be you. And you know, I want to thank you for your time today. And I want to say thank you for, you know, your courage, your bravery, for sharing parts of yourself so vulnerably with us. And I want to acknowledge you also for not only taking the responsibility of your own healing on, right? But you've now taken, you know, you're a stand and a commitment to heal all those around you. And you've put your life into service of that, which I think is beautiful. And lastly, I feel like you absolutely fearless on the one side, but then you this beautiful feminine ray of light on the other side. And I think together it's such a powerful combination, you know, and such a great energy from you. So thank you for being here with me today, and thank you for sharing yourself.
Thank you so much, Gaia. This was such an honor. Thank you for allowing me to share my magic, my medicine, my story. I hope that this helps the world in the way that it needs to, as I know through my own experiences, they're not easy, and yet I've been able to find a way through them. And so my whole intention is to give people hope in their own experiences, knowing that there is a way through, there is a way to be able to experience a life of joy and ecstasy, even when we've been through so much. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my story today.
Thank you. And for those of you who have been watching and following along the discussion, if you'd like to get hold of Kelsey, please put your questions or comments below. We're going to put all the links to her website, where you'll be able to purchase her book as soon as it comes out. And again, please comment, like, share this content. It's all very helpful to us. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. And thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.